Evening all. Chalk filters didn't really work for me, Alan. I didn't give it much of a big time experimentation, but I think I tried it twice and that was it. I mean, it either works or it doesn't work, so I mean, it's possible there'd be varying levels of efficiency with different tobaccos or different pipes, but I haven't really got the time and patience to experiment with a million different things to see if it'll work when a 9mm will just do it on the spot, so it's just not worth the hassle, to be honest. Where's my pipe? Just preparing some 2016 Christmas cheer. Going to be smoking it in the latest Stanwell. So who's on? Anybody else care to say hello? Hi Paul, how you doing? I guess the audience will be Europe based tonight, because it's a bit early for the US audience. Might get the odd one or two if we're lucky. Nightcap, good. Mariah report. I actually meant to tag you in my latest Instagram post so that you could put that information about the Danish Pipe Shop on your Briar report. Did you get that? Did you see my post? Nice. I actually meant to take out my meerschaum and smoke some of that stuff I tried yesterday. But Stanwell it is, with some Christmas cheer. What would be cool, Briar report, if you link my latest video, that would be nice. Bit of exposure for the channel. The video which talks about it, it's only a short video, and you could add the link to the Danish website as well. If that's okay with you. Good evening, Aces. So essentially, I got an email today from the Danish Pipe Shop. Thank you, Briar report. Email from the Danish Pipe Shop saying that as of the 8th of November, 4 days ago, they are no longer selling any tobacco outside of Denmark. I was shocked. The email had a link on it to Nikolai's, he has a blog on the Danish Pipe Shop website. and I've since then had an email exchange with him this evening. And essentially, up until now, the customer took responsibility. So if I, living in the UK, order the tobacco from Denmark, from the Danish Pipe Shop, essentially it was my responsibility. If I bring it into the UK, I've paid for it, it's mine, and it comes in under my ownership. The Danish Pipe Shop wasn't too worried about it. But now, it seems that the PC police are closing in. And essentially he was having issues with the credit card companies. He was having issues with tobacco producers who are just imposing lots of restrictions. Plus, each country has their own regulations as to what needs to be on your tin of tobacco in terms of warnings. There's the UK ridiculous one with a high stack of a tin in order to have as much warnings on it as possible. And there's a Danish one. Nothing on the sides, but that bit there. Now they're obviously not the same. This has just got this warning and that's it, and this has got it literally all over the place and on the back as well. So when you get a tin of Danish tobacco through your door in the UK, it's not compliant. And up until now, it seems that the seller didn't really have any onus on them, because once it had left their possession, it was the problem of the owner of the tobacco, and that has apparently stopped. So they're no longer able to take that risk anymore. And in order to comply with all of the regulations, that means they would have to comply with every single country that they send tobacco to. And every single country has their own rules, and those rules keep changing. So if you can imagine the amount of bureaucracy that they would have had to comply with, and they're only a small team of people, it's a family-run shop, family-owned shop with a few employees, it's just not viable, it's not possible. So it's another nail in the coffin, in the proverbial coffin. And it's worrying. As I said in one of my posts earlier on, I worry for, especially in the United States, where in the last decade there's been an absolute blossoming of pipe carvers, of artisan pipe carvers. And any of them that rely on pipe carving for a living, I worry for them. I don't think it's going to affect them today or tomorrow in the US. The US market is huge. But still, the trend, the trajectory of the restrictions worldwide is not good. Hey Austrian Piper, thanks for joining. I don't know what the FDA... I mean, Germany is one of the only places, but Germany has a huge pipe smoking community compared to anywhere else in Europe. It's probably the biggest in Europe. It probably accounts for as much as the whole of the rest of Europe together, I would imagine. I don't know what statistics there are out there in terms of how many pipe smokers there are in Germany. There certainly seems to be a huge market. Black coffee. I've not ever bought from a German website, so I'm going to have to start looking at that. Because even though the Danish Pipe Shop wasn't always the cheapest, I mean they were okay, but not always the cheapest, it's just the service was second to none. The website is amazing. The people are amazing. The customer service is fantastic. You know, orders were turned around quickly. Everything was just amazing about that. So I had no motivation to go and seek a provider elsewhere. And of course, the English websites, where I buy from regularly. But tobaccos that you couldn't get in the UK, I could get some of them at least. Perhaps not the American ones, but some of the European ones I could get from the Danish Pipe Shop. I'm hopeful that I'll be able to make contact with somebody in Denmark so I can still work something out. Somebody could buy it on my behalf or something like that. I mean, the odd few American websites that ship out to the UK in a way that your stuff doesn't get stopped by too frequently. They're all great as well, and I still order from America occasionally. Much more, it has been quite seldom in the last, say, 12 to 18 months. Anything overseas I have ordered generally from the Danish Pipe Shop. But the problem with getting in America is the cost of shipping. The cost of shipping is really very expensive. I don't know why it is so expensive. I mean, when I send a fairly decent package, I suppose it's about the same actually. If who did I send a package to? I sent a fairly hefty package to a few people recently. And on average, it was about £20 or £25 for a decent package. If I do an order from some of the American websites, the shipping alone is sometimes $50, $60. Having said that, I did an order with Boswell's recently, and the shipping was $26, so it wasn't too bad. It all goes by weight, so I suppose if you keep the order reasonable. But the shipping ended up being a third of the cost of the order itself. But you've got to weigh it up. I mean, the price for tobacco in the US is far cheaper than here, so it kind of swings and roundabouts. You're not saving an awful amount. You are saving to some extent, but not a massive amount. But the availability, obviously, in the US is greater than here. So some of the McBaron blends I can't get here. Buonasera, Sandro. Well, you saw my video, Sandro. You commented. Thank you for that. I just wanted to get on and talk about it. Smoking a delicious bowl of 2016 Christmas cheer in my Stanwell. Don't know what you'd call this. Pickaxe, acorn, I don't know. Freehand, Dublin, I don't know, not sure. I don't know what the state of affairs. Well, I couldn't house all of you. My office is not big enough. It is indeed delicious. I've forgotten how good it is. Haven't smoked it for a while. Hi Smoky Mo, thanks for joining. The crazy thing is, somebody commented on Facebook to my post. The crazy thing is that marijuana is getting legalized, cannabis is getting legalized, yet everybody's fighting against tobacco. So somebody commented the two things are completely unrelated, and they're fed up of that discussion being joined together. But there is some logic. Well, the crazy thing is that the cigarette market in the US is so big, well, worldwide it's so big, that it'll still take some time before cigarettes become illegal. And either that or it'll be taxed. It already is taxed crazily, but it'll be taxed to oblivion. And as somebody else commented, it'll go underground, the tobacco industry. And the governments will suffer because they won't have the tax. That's all that will happen. And that's why the cannabis, because it's so rife and so commonplace, they've made it legal so that they can tax it. Eventually that's what will happen. They'll tax it and get a tax from the cannabis and marijuana and all that kind of stuff. Sandra, there's a lot of studies out there about second-hand, third and fourth-hand smoke. Second-hand smoke is not good. No smoke is good. Question is the level of exposure. And I guess when we smoke a pipe and we don't inhale, but if we're in a room, we are taking on second-hand smoke, I guess. Probably not as bad as cigarette smoke, with all the various chemicals that are in there. But no smoke is good. But this tobacco is excellent. Very, very good stuff. I haven't really smoked McLaren Virginias for a couple of weeks. I've been focusing on other blends. Just tried this one out. It's delicious stuff. If you saw my video that I uploaded earlier today, I smoked this the second time today, and the first time I did it on the Saturday Night Live about 9 days ago, I really didn't enjoy it. But this time, it was sublime. Yep, that's the way of the world. The way of the world is upside down at the moment. More so than it's ever been. The whole political correctness has gone nuts. And one of the biggest proponents of that is the EU. One of the reasons why people voted for Brexit. But I think I think the horse is bolted. Mixing up my cliches. I think the horse is bolted. You know, even if we do Brexit and we get out of Europe, I think that the bureaucrats here in the UK will still be politically correct. And, you know, I think the horse is bolted already. And a lot of that is because of the litigious society that exists, especially in the US, and people are just running scared of getting sued the whole time, so they have to cover every single angle and make sure that they can't get sued. Cheers, Briar Report. I managed to order a couple of tins of this from Boswell's earlier today. I tried to find it on Danish Pipe Shop. They have some there, but I can't order it anymore. I tried clicking on something to see if I could even put it on the shopping cart. It lets you do that, but once you go to the next page, it just has shipping options to Denmark. Well, I suppose what it does mean is that people will focus on their local B&Ms, which is, I suppose, a silver lining to the cloud. But that's only in the short term, because that cloud is an ever-increasing cloud, and the tentacles of the cloud are just spreading further and further and further. The most popular websites here, I think, are doing okay. GQ Tobacco's, My Smoking Shop, websites like that are doing okay, I hope. I'm sorry, I think you might have some typos there, Sandra. I don't understand the last sentence. They should per the peg, the pound, to Sam Gowith, full Virginia flake. I don't know what you're saying there. Sorry, Sandra. Mo, have you got warning labels in the States yet on tins? Did I hear rightly that that's coming soon? Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. Yeah, Steve. Start looking into Bitcoins. Don't know. Bitcoins worry me. It's also based on thin air, but I don't know enough about it to be able to dabble with it, to be honest. And I haven't really got the surplus cash lying around. I couldn't tell you. This pipe smokes very well, but it gets really hot in the bowl compared to my other pipes. I'm trying to smoke it often to build up a good lining inside, but smokes very hot. Yeah, I saw your comment earlier, Steve, about the dark web. I wouldn't know how to access it. I don't know how I'd even go about that. Hi, Steph. Welcome. We've been talking about the announcement by the Danish Pipe Shop. It actually smokes very, very well. I really enjoy smoking it. I'm smoking the Christmas cheer in it, delicious, but it does get very hot, hence I'm holding it by the stem, because the bowl gets piping hot. Thor browser, never heard of it. So how is the value created, Steph? How can I get Bitcoin as such? Do I have to pay for it? But the Bitcoin itself, how do you accumulate Bitcoin? I guess it's not something you can explain on the fly. Thanks, Smoky Mo. Yeah, it really is a nice pipe. As I say, it smokes very, very well. Just smokes hot. I guess once it's fully broken in, with a bit of a decent cake, and I'm not a big cake grower, if you like. All of my pipes have a very thin carbon layer, but really you couldn't call it cake. I don't smoke them like literally one pipe, one bowl after the next. And I tend to wipe them out as well. That's all double Dutch to me. Mining them. I'm afraid I'm ignorant in this whole Bitcoin story. So, is there? Did I hear correctly that there's going to be warning labels in the US on tobacco tins? Or do you have it already? Oh, right. Hi, Alvin. Pipe arrived safely? Well, I hope you just don't end up getting stupid regulations like we have here. I was just, earlier on, I was explaining one of the reasons why the Danish Pipe Shop stopped sending tobacco overseas was because of the onus has now become theirs to ensure that anywhere they send tobacco to, that they comply with the regulations of the country that the tobacco is going to. So if you look at this tin of Dark Twist from Denmark, all it has is this one label. Nowhere else. Oh, there is one on the back as well. In the UK, you have to have a bigger tin in order to accommodate labels all the way around the side as well, and on the back and on the front. So if Danish Pipe Shop sends a McBarron tin out, they would have to make sure that it complies with the UK law, and the same applies with every country that they send to, each with their own rules, each with their own rules changing on a regular basis. So it was just not viable for them. I think Presbyterian I tried once, a long time ago. I think I was with Alethea, who's a friend who I meet up with at the pipe show, at the pipe club each month. I met her once at 1A, St James's, at the Dunhill shop, and I think she gave me a bowl of that to try, and I didn't like it at the time, but I think that was very early on in my pipe smoking, so I don't know, maybe I would like it now, I've got no idea. I really did think that I was going to get back into Northwoods and Latakia blends for the winter. It so far hasn't happened. When I'm looking for something rich and spicy, I can just reach for a Christmas cheer, and that satisfies me. At the moment I haven't yet got the hankering for the Latakia again. Hey Matthew. Tamper made by Pipe Tree. That was my old handle, BPR UK, which was short for Bosco Piper UK. Was it bigger or smaller than you thought, Alvin? Your pipes? Oh really? I thought it would. You were going to say it was bigger than you expected. That's a good sized pipe. That's, you don't want it really. I mean, unless you're into big pipes, but that's a pretty classical shape and size. Cheers, Steve. All the best. Don't forget to count your Bitcoin before you go to bed. At least those you can count in your sleep, since they're virtual. Did I put a baggie in the box for you? Did I not write on it what it is? All right. I don't know. I usually, whenever I send a pipe out, I usually put a bag of tobacco in as a little complimentary little gift. But I think it's Samuel Gareth Best Brown, possibly. Not 100% sure. I'm surprised I didn't write exactly what it was, actually. I usually would do that. It's my pleasure. I do have another sale video that I need to put together. I just haven't had the time to really do it. but we'll get there. At the moment I'm smoking my Stanwell, and in it I'm smoking some Christmas Cheer 2016. Another victim of this ongoing clampdown on pipe smoking in McClelland's. Although it wasn't the only cause for their demise, it certainly was a contributory factor. And as I said earlier, I do worry, whilst it may not hit America yet, I do worry about in the last decade or so, there's been a huge mushrooming of independent carvers, of artisan carvers. And I worry for them, especially those that make their living from it. Because if the hobby contracts to that extent that's intended by the FDA and the various similar bodies around the world, there just won't be enough to keep them all busy. Hi Emmanuel. I haven't tried the Bijou yet from Cornell & Deal. See you, Steph. The two that I'm really would like to try is Union Square and Opening Night. I've heard a lot of good things about them, but so far the Cornell & Deal and GLP's blends, which are one and the same in reality, the ones that I've tried I haven't really been blown away by. So I've got a couple of tins of that coming. I've got High Northeast. I've got a tin of the new Red Cake, which has been released in America. So I wanted to give that a try. The Crumble Cake Vapor. And a couple of ounces of Boswell's Northwoods as well, just to top up my stock of Northwoods, even though I'm not smoking it at the moment, but I'm sure I'll get there one day. And you know what? One thing, if we take one thing from all of this, is never mind your Penzances and Pelican and all these kind of things. If there's a tobacco that you like, even if it's just one or two tobaccos, just regularly top up your cellar. You know, even if whenever you make a small order, whatever it might be, just add a tin, an extra tin or two of your favorite tobaccos, and just make sure you've got the stock, because you just don't know what tomorrow brings. I mean, who expected McClelland's to just go literally from one day to the next? And it could happen to any of them. I worry about Boswell's as well. You know, they've just opened up this second store in the last couple of years. Yes, absolutely, Pipes. I did see your comment. You know, I worry about, you know, the Boswells have obviously made a huge outlay to start the second store. I hope they've got sufficient business to keep them going. I was reading an article in the Pipe and Tobacco magazine talking about Yuli's, an article about Yuli's, and them talking about the B&Ms in that area which have closed down, even ones which have been there for, I don't know, maybe 100 years or something. And they're just, you know, they're getting knocked down like flies. Sandra, my regular slot is Saturday night, and generally speaking, I'm on every Saturday night, somewhere between 11 and midnight UK time. That's generally when I do it. And occasionally during the week, it's on the spur of the moment thing. Yep. I mean, I could set up a reminder thing, but if it's during the week, it's not something that I've planned, so. Right, I think I'm back on. Can I be heard? Anyone? All right, cool, thank you. I think I'm being hacked by the FDA. Hi, Simon. Maybe no question, but how are you keeping your Christmas cheer fresh? I have tins in inside that I don't want to jar them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. To be honest with you, generally speaking, when I've got a tin open, if it's a regular thing that I smoke, I just leave it out. Because the drier it is, generally it's better. Obviously, you don't want it tin to dry. But if you're not smoking it quickly enough and it's drying out, then just do that. These are all my open tins, and of course you've got all the jars. But that's what I do. There's a limit to how many jars I'm prepared to buy and stock, so I just keep them in Tupperdoors, the ones that are open, and they stay perfectly moist. They keep their humidity absolutely fine. Hi, Lone Wolf. I'm doing well. A little bit peeved by the latest developments with Danish Pipe Shop, but such is life. Hi, Martin. Thank you for joining. To come back to your question, Matthew, it depends how often and how quickly you smoke your tobacco, and also depends how moist it is to start with. But on average, I mean, this, I'm trying to remember how long ago I opened this tin. There's about maybe a quarter of a tin left, if that, and it's been open for a good, I'd say 2 or 3 months, and it still needs drying out a little bit. This is Christmas cheer from 2016, and it's really good. I've got 2017 as well, and the 2017 is just not the same. It's quite a lot milder, quite a bit milder, but I dare say with time it'll also get enriched. Hi, Brett. Thanks for joining. Yeah, it's really good. The 2016 is very good. I've got 2016, 2017, and a little bit left of my 2014 tin. I've only got that one tin, which I was gifted a while back. And the 2014 is the best of the lot. So I'm hopeful that that's because of the time. I know that they had different vintages each year, and that the blends were slightly different each time. But I'm still hopeful that the 2016 will still improve. I still have another 1 or 2 tins, and the same will happen with the 2017, hopefully. The 40th anniversary, I'm really excited to see what happens with that, because that was great to start with. So I hope I'll manage to hold off on a couple of the tins for a few years and see how it develops. Yeah, but that's quite an expensive way to go if you're going to get huge mason jars to hold maybe 1 or 2 tins. You won't get that much more in there. The Tupperware is a much simpler, cheaper solution, and you can keep your tobacco in the tins, and it works fine. that stays airtight and keeps the moisture without any problem. And if your container isn't 100% airtight, you can always put a Boveda bag in there as well. Tupperware is great. It's really very versatile. I keep cigars in Tupperware as well, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's no different to a humidor. And if you want to get that little bit of cedar influence, you can always put a few cedar spills in there. I think you've emailed me before, Sandra. Yep, that's stackable, absolutely. I had a little bit of an email discussion with Nikolai from the Danish Pipe Shop earlier today, and they very much regretted not being able to, because I was asking why didn't they give us advance notice so that people could at least stock up on some of their favourite blends that they can't get in their own country. And he said that just would have exacerbated the problem, because they are now obliged to make sure that they comply with the country that they send tobacco to, and if they would have been inundated with orders, it would have just, completely swamped them. So it is what it is. That's how it is. The same happened when McClelland went out of business. I think McClelland going out of business was far more serious than Danish Pipe Shop not exporting, but they're still exporting pipes and accessories and everything else, just not the tobacco. Hey Wayne, thanks for joining. Talking about conspiracy theories when it comes to political correctness and all that kind of stuff, is it just me, or do you find that every single time Apple does an update or brings out a new phone, your old phones start to play up and do weird and wonderful things? Well, not wonderful, but weird things. Or is that just me? It's not just me, yeah. Doesn't surprise me. It's without fail, I would say, for the last 3 or 4 years, when new phones have come out. And I don't know how they're getting away with it. It's I can't see how it's not criminal. I don't know if there was a lawsuit. I don't know how they got away with that. Here's Steph, we've been waiting for you. I mean, surely if it forces people to change their phone, it's tantamount to theft. In the last 2 months, since the last brace of iPhones were released, my phone's been doing, both of my phones just doing weird things. Keep having to restart it. The screen's all over the place. The sensitivity, you press an icon on one part of the screen and a different icon responds. And it's just weird things. Now, a bug is one thing. If you do an update and they haven't quite ironed out the bugs, there's one thing, but you'd expect those to iron themselves out with more security updates or whatever it is they do to get rid of the bugs, but it's just not happening. And all that's going to happen is eventually people are going to get fed up. And yes, it is a very much a style make, a lifestyle make brand. They have got deeper pockets, yeah. But I think Android are going to become more and more popular. As a result, people are getting fed up. I operate two phones all the time. I have one which I use for personal use and one for work. And the work phone is the one that I use for all my social media. And as you know, I've been trying out various different phones over the past few months. I've just ordered an older phone, an Android S7 Active, with the hope that that will stand up to the use that I give it, and I hope that will work out. And if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world, because it's an S7, it was cheap, and it's guaranteed for a year. And I could even return it if I'm really not happy. But it's a shame, because the iPhones do what they do very, very well when they work. Whenever I try an Android phone and I go back to an iPhone, I just feel a sense of relief. I suppose it's familiarity as well. It's what you're used to. But I actually was on Android before I was on iPhone. I went over to iPhone probably about 8 or 10 years ago. The last Android I had was the S2. So that gives you an idea. So we're now on the S9, so that's 7 years ago. Well, maybe a bit longer. It's not always a year apart, but in the beginning it wasn't a year apart. Nowadays it's a year apart. But in the beginning it wasn't. And I really did enjoy the S2. It was a good phone. And I moved over to iPhone. And ever since then I've really found it hard to migrate over to Android. But I'm feeling kind of forced into it now, because I'm just getting really frustrated with the way the Apple phones are working or not working. So many of my accessories have stopped working. They've become unpredictable. The charging cables, and I know that the charging cables have to be compliant or whatever it is, but when you buy them they work, and then they just stop working, and that's just... So I don't know if it's an update or something like that. The S5, I was actually on the verge of pulling the trigger on a brand new S5 for 130 quid, brand new sealed unit. But when I saw the S7, it's got quite a bit of advancement on it, and the main thing as well is the camera is a lot better. And because of my social media output, the camera is important. So we'll see what the S7 Active is like, and if it's good, we'll keep it. If not, if I don't get on with it, I'll have to return it and try again. We'll get there. Really, Sandro? Well, that's everything is geared up that way. All our information is being shared, and people are making millions and millions and millions on our information. As a matter of course, whenever I sign up to anything, I always do not tick the boxes of sharing information or diagnostic data, sharing any of that. I just don't. And I know that in the background stuff is still being sent, but try and keep it to a minimum. That's all you can do. I'm Currently smoking this beautiful Stanwell. Smokes very, very well. It smokes, the bowl does get hot, but it's smoking very well. And I'm smoking some Christmas Cheer 2016, and it's a delicious bowl of tobacco. Eileen's Dream. Is that a CAO tobacco? I've seen you on one of your videos talking about CAO, is it? I think I have one of those tins. Is it Moonlight, possibly? It's like a blue tin, possibly. I think I got that from Danish Shop. I think you've had that on one of your videos, Steph. I think it was on your live, one of your live videos. I'll have to crack that one day and see what it's all about. Excuse me. A Christmas blend in the UK. Well, Peterson bring out a Christmas blend usually. But it depends what you call a Christmas blend. No, we don't get C&D here. There is one website which carries, occasionally has a few tins, a little bit overpriced, and I don't actually know how they get away with doing it, because I don't think we're allowed to import American tobacco. What do you consider to be a Christmas blend, Suffolk? Do you mean a spicy, kind of sweet, aromatic pipe? Is that tobacco? Is that what you mean? Right. Hey Goju, I'm just trying to think of something in the UK. Nothing really springs to mind, to be honest. Well, you can always try Nutty Cut by Peterson's. Are you looking for something that you can smoke indoors and the room note will be acceptable? Is that what you're looking for? I would say get some W.O. Larson blends, or the Rattrays. They all bring out Christmas blends, but you won't be able to get them in the Danish Pipe Shop anymore, but you can get them from Germany. Well, the winter does do that to you, Steph. I'm still waiting for that Latakia flavour to become attractive again to me, but it hasn't happened yet. funny how things change. A year ago, I was smoking Latakia probably 80% of the time. And now, it's Virginias and Virginia Periques 95% of the time, 98% of the time. And it's so not like me, because I'm, you know, I was all over the place with my, I just wanted to have a bit of everything. And I'm really stuck into this genre, and I have been for nearly a year now. November, December last year. Wow, time flies. Hey Jim, thanks for joining. My other iPhone has just died a death. I plugged it in and it brings up an error on the screen. Oh well. We've been talking about the Danish Pipe Shop announcing that they're not exporting tobacco anymore, and they're only sending it to Denmark. "40 degrees. What is that in Celsius? You can forget the Smoking Pipes website, Jim, because they're stopping that as well. I was just chatting via email to Nikolai in the Danish Pipe Shop, and he's told me that's going to happen as well. So apparently. In fact, I'm just looking at their site now, the European site, and they don't have any tobacco on there. But I've not actually been on this site before. It's good to know. Danish pipes. What have you bought there recently, Jim? Anything fancy? Cheers, Steph. Thanks for joining. Have a good one. No, you can get tobacco, but there's just companies are stopping to export it. So the Danish Pipe Shop has stopped selling tobacco outside Denmark. You can still buy the pipes and stuff, but not tobacco. Yeah, absolutely, Goju. I actually said that to Nikolai. That it's something I've been wanting to do for a long time now. I might well be forced into finding a way to do that at some point. Been wanting to go down there, and especially I'd love to do a video in the Danish Pipe Shop, talking to the staff and just getting a good detailed video of the shop. Oh, you can't go wrong with the Northern Briars. Absolutely, Wayne. Where are you based, Wayne? In the US, I suppose? Well, I can see that I'm going to have issues now with smokingpipes.eu. They got plenty 9mm pipes there. I should not have discovered this. This is not good. Jim, you can laugh. Alright, I'm going to do a quick poll here, people. And I want absolute honesty and integrity. Are we ready? Everybody, what is the most you have spent on a single pipe? Make sure your wife or your husband or other half is not listening, and tell us the truth. Euros, Jim, or pounds? I need amounts, please. 85. I'm impressed, Suffolk. I'm very impressed. Allegedly. Well, the most I've spent is $2.95 for this Dunhill. Little chubby, stubby Dublin, I guess you'd call it. Lovely ring grain. And it's in 9mm as well. Well, full credit to you guys who've spending $25 or $50, £85. Full credit to you. There's 16 people on, and we've only had a handful of answers. Come on, guys and girls. Let's be having you. Pipes, etc. What did you get? What pipe did you get for $320? $550 on a Sayakapo. Wow, that's a lot of money. In the 90s, woof. That's a lot of money. This is 190. What pipe was that? You say Walt Kanoy. Oh, it wasn't a very good smoker, right? Come on, Sandro, let's be having you. Blue Moon Rider, $136. What pipe was that? Absolutely, pipes. If it doesn't work for you, you've got to sell it. And it might be a perfect pipe for somebody else. Pipes are funny that way. Without a doubt, my best purchase. I haven't got it here, it's in the car. Without a doubt, was my Parker basket pipe, the one I smoked earlier today. I'll show you a picture on my phone, the other phone, which is charging now. This one here, if you've probably seen it before, this is a Parker with a beautiful ring grain, a billiard, classic shape. I think I paid £36 for it as a basket pipe. Yeah, Goju, Peterson's I'm not a fan of, unfortunately. I did have a stunning Peterson which gurgled like mad. Yeah, some of you have probably heard the story. That really upset me at the time. $225 for Northern Briars. Wow, that's a lot of money. Although it depends which Northern Briars you got, what type. Which shape was that, Wayne, for the Northern Briars? Yeah, well, unfortunately, I don't have that pipe anymore. It was a beautiful bent pipe with a regular stem, not a P-lip. Had a lovely, lovely grain on it, but it gurgled like mad. I spoke to Peterson, so I phoned them up in Ireland, and they said I should send it back, they'll have a look at it. And they got back in touch with me and offered me a pipe in exchange, and they sent me pictures of it, and it was horrible. And in the end, they sent me a picture of another one, which was a lot better, beautiful actually, a very nice spigot, silver spigot. But I said, you know what, just send me my pipe back. And they said, sorry, we can't, we've already cut it up. And I said, what? That's my pipe, you know. They said, no, as soon as they get a pipe which is faulty, they cut it up. I actually don't believe the guy. I actually thought that, but I'm a bit cynical, but it was such a nice looking pipe that it wouldn't surprise me if they held on to it. But anyway, it doesn't make sense because they sent me a pipe which was worth more. So I'm just being cynical. But I was upset. I was upset. If you go back, way back into the early days of my videos, you'll see it there somewhere. To be honest, Suffolk, a lot of bent pipes won't pass a pipe cleaner. The vast majority of my bent pipes are not drilled right, and this is why most of the pipes that I buy now are straight or nearly straight. Yeah, I mean, look, as long as it smokes okay, Suffolk, it's not the end of the world. If it doesn't pass a cleaner, you know, for me, passing a cleaner is irrelevant now, because I'm using filters, so I can't pass a cleaner through anyway during the smoke. So it's irrelevant for me now, as long as it's not hampering the smoke. It doesn't make a lot of difference to me. I did buy a pipe recently, which I've had to send back to the place that I bought it from. It was actually a bent pipe, a 9mm pipe, nice looking pipe. But once you put the filter in, you couldn't get through smoke through it. It was extremely tight because of the way it was drilled, and the hole missed the end of the filter, basically. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me, Suffolk. Hey CW, thanks for joining. I actually, I need to chase up that pipe. I've forgotten all about it. I use Vaughan Dr. Pearl Jr. 9mm pipes, 9mm filters. Ones that come in the red box, and I buy usually a big box at a time, 180 filters. Hi Snakes, thanks for joining. Well, I think we're where are we now? Coming up to an hour and 20 minutes. So I think I'm going to call it a day. This was a bit of an impromptu live, a chat. I just really wanted to get off my chest about this whole Danish Pipe Shop thing. Mr. Burrows. Sandra, I've been trying to meet up with him for probably about a year now, best part of a year. I don't know if you remember, I did a video at the Dunhill shop in Jermyn Street, going back probably about a year. And I met the guy who was in charge of personal sort of service, like, you know, measuring people up for new suits and things like that, for the fashion side of things. But he had joined the shop whilst Mark Burrows was still there. Mark Burrows was the main blender of tobaccos there at the time. And anyway, I recorded the video. It was a really interesting video. And this guy that I met, he really opened himself up, and he spoke a lot about the history of the shop. And so I put the video up, and it was a very popular video. And the guy contacted me afterwards, and he said his employers have asked him to ask me to take the video down, because Dunhill are very touchy about their connection with pipe tobacco, with smoking, I should say, and hence the reason why they've sold on the Dunhill licenses, and they didn't really want to be associated with smoking at all. So they asked him to ask me to take it down, and I said to him, I'll do that because I don't want you to be in any sort of trouble, but please do me a favour and try and arrange a meeting for me with Mark Burrows. And he said he was going to do that. It's never happened. So there we go. I'm just waiting for the day that he stops working there. I can put the video back up. It's a nice video. Yeah, and Clementine art was very nice, especially the Frogmorton series was a nice creative kind of look. Incidentally, that clicking noise is, I'm just playing around with this Zippo. Does anybody know how to date these? I wasn't aware that you could date them, but is that 07 there, the year? 2007? Is that, can you date all Zippos? Well, Goji, you could always get in touch with the McNeils. I'm sure she's got the original artwork somewhere. Because I think, is her name Mary McNeil? She drew them herself. Mrs. McNeil. They're her artwork. Have they always had the year on them, Brett? Since year dot? Hey Jeff, how you doing? You've just come on the tail end. We were just about to say goodbye. Right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining this impromptu live video. Thank you, Jeff, Sandro, Brett, Suffolk, Goju, Snakes in the Road, Austrian Piper, Pipes etc., Austrian Piper, CW Piperman, Jim, Wayne, Blue Moon Rider. That's a cool name. And Matthew and everybody else, thank you very much for joining. And Tree, hello, goodbye. Sorry, but we've been on for an hour and a half almost, Tree. Sorry, mate, but it's time to go. So I wish you all a very pleasant evening, and I'll catch you on the next one.